is hatred, let me bring your love. When there is injury, your pardon, Lord. And where there's doubt, true faith in you. Make me a channel of your peace. Where there's despair in life, let me bring hope.
Hi, I'm Castorena, and this is Visions of Inspiration. Welcome to the show. I have an astonished young lady that's she's just wonderful. She's got so many gifts and so many things to give to people. I mean, healings and working with them in so many different ways. I'm amazed with her, with what she can do at such a young age. I'd like to introduce Davina Forbes. Yes. What a pleasure.
Nice to meet you too. Oh, to be here, thank you.
Oh, now, from the time you started growing up, how old were you when you realized that you had these gifts of hearing your guides or your, what would you call them?
Well, my guides, yes. I wasn't totally aware of who they were, but I did start speaking with them at least by the age of 9. I would sit in my room and talk for hours with myself. And
did you think you were nuts?
Well, no, I never really told anybody.
Okay.
I would just be by myself. And I had a lot of rough things that were going on in my life at the time, and so I would talk to myself about them and get answers and guidance from myself, although I didn't think that was illogical as a child. I didn't really think of them as invisible friends either. They were just a part of me. Yeah. And they helped me through a lot of that time.
Because you came from a very dysfunctional family?
Oh, to say the least. Yes.
Now, your dad had problems with drinking.
Yes.
He was also abusive to your mom, and your mom also had some problems too.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Now, for you to have lived through that and to be where you're at today, what did you have to do for you to survive, really? Because that's what you had to do.
Well, one of the things that I did early on, without really any guidance from, people, I talked to myself, like I said, talked to my guides, and they helped me to kind of program myself not to react to certain things and how to keep things from coming into me and staying, because I really, truly didn't want to grow up and be as dysfunctional as my parents, and nor the parents that they had either. I saw that very young, that it was a choice, and I didn't want to make those same choices. I wanted to be more free to make the right choices for myself. And so I had this guidance, this connection to the other side that was a great source of information and help, I guess. I'm not really sure. Self-help, but it wasn't really from myself. It was my connection to God from the inside. So...
Now, you also shared with me about going to Africa.
Yes.
Wow. Now, the little bit that I remember you were sharing about was you had problems going out of the house. You stayed house. You had to be, what do they call it? Homeschooling.
Yes.
And from all of that, you chose to go to Africa. How did that happen?
Well, I was very shy. Being around people was somewhat painful growing up. And by the time I was in 6th grade, I had realized I'm not going back to school. I don't want to be around people. I couldn't handle the pain of being around large groups of people. So I did homeschool, and I became too reclusive in my extended family's opinion. So they did help get me into a very, very small private school in Arizona. And the first year that I was there was my 11th grade year. There was this really awesome group from different parts of Africa that were associated with a Teens Mission International out of Florida. And they came and sang at our school, and they were talking about their organization and how you could go and help people doing different things. It was your choice whether you want to go and help by working physically or doing other kind of ministry work. And it was impressed so deeply on my spirit to go and do this that I was forced out of my shyness.
So it was almost like you didn't have a choice.
I didn't have a choice.
You either went or you were in trouble.
Yeah, there just didn't seem any other choice but to go. And so since I just had to do it, I ended up going and speaking in churches and schools and raising the money to go and do this thing.
From being from a really shy girl and staying at home to going out and speaking to a big group of people. How did you do that?
Well, I was very, very nervous, and I shook in my shoes and stuttered and, probably spoke badly in front of people, but I had to go so bad it didn't matter. None of that mattered except the choice of going. There was no choice for me on the inside not to go.
So when you went over there, what kind of downfalls did you have, or did you have any?
Well,
how long did you go for?
Well, we had to train and learn how to do the physical work that we were going to be doing over there. We weren't quite sure what the work would entail, so we did learn a bunch of things at this boot camp. They called it boot camp. Learned how to frame houses and make the blocks, and then how to put the blocks on a wall and make a wall and pour a footer, how to frame, how to roof, whatever was going to be needed. We weren't quite sure. So when we went over there, we found that it was a private piece of land that was helping, and it was for an orphanage, and they weren't going to be able to keep their land unless they put a wall around it. So we were there to help them put a wall around it. And it was very difficult looking at the living circumstances of those around. They lived in mud huts. That wasn't such a bad thing, but the lack of food and not even the lack of education was such a big thing. They didn't view it as we view it over here. But looking at the children starving and not having help from anyone, it was so much more sweeter that we were there to help this organization help them. We weren't allowed to. That was one of the most difficult things watching.
Because you had no way of helping them.
We weren't allowed to help in that way because we weren't there to distribute food to the village.
Wow.
We were there for work, so we only could carry so much weight on the plane when we were traveling, so we brought work tools. And of course we had to feed ourselves, but we weren't allowed to share our food. That was probably the hardest thing to watch, is we weren't allowed to share that. And the reason for that being that other teams in the past had gone and they had shared what food they had. However, it was the survival of the fittest in the village, and they fought and killed each other over it. So because of that, because we wanted to help and not cause strife in the village, we were there to work. We had to separate ourselves like that. But watching the starving children was probably the most difficult part of it.
How long were you there for?
A month.
A month. So now you come back to the United States. How did that change you? Your way of thinking, your feelings?
Appreciating everything about life that you never really think about. I'm sitting on this chair instead of squatting on the ground. I mean, we weren't allowed to sit on the ground because the germs were almost toxic to us over there. We did get very ill. But having chairs, having beds, air conditioning, electricity, running water. I mean, we didn't have running water over there. We pumped it from a well and ran it through a filter, and we couldn't even drink as much water as we wanted because there wasn't enough. We limited ourselves on everything, and toilets were something that was greatly missed.
Toilet paper. I gotta have some toilet paper.
Yes, so these things that no one ever thinks to appreciate, you become so aware of everything around you, the gifts of everything. Abundance is one thing you're not really aware of that you have, because we're always looking at the next neighbor, they have something more than me. But really, if you were looking at it in relation to the rest of the world, you'd realize how much you really do have. So
now you're here, and you come back. When did you realize that you needed to utilize the gifts or the what you were given? When did you realize that this is what I have to do?
Well, in 1999, I started working at a commercial real estate company in Arizona, and there was this really great lady there who was into energy and healing, and of course, we got along famously, and she had so much information to share with me, And at first I didn't know anything about being empathic or, this kind of energy exchange or how to use energy and direct energy. But from the time I was really young, people loved to talk to me and tell me their stuff, and I seemed to make them feel better, and I had the right words that they needed to hear at the time, or good ideas about what they should do about this or that. And growing up, I also had a lot of pain, physical pain, which is one of the reasons why I didn't like going into crowds, because I felt very overwhelmed and it would actually cause pain. Of course, at this time, I didn't associate it with the people.
Right.
And so she said, the word empathic, and maybe I was. And I said, what is this thing? And so she explained that you can have an exchange of energy without anybody knowing about it. And she asked me to start observing when I started having pain, if it was around certain people. Sure enough, there were certain people that loved to come to talk to me most often, and they seemed to feel good when they would leave. And that always made me feel good that I was able to help someone in a small way, making them feel better. But once I found that the pain I was physically having was related to people coming and exchanging their energy with me, it was like a light bulb had come on for all of the things that happened in the last 10 years with the pain that I had had. And I'd gone to many doctors, and they couldn't find out what was wrong with me either. And it always seemed to, move, and it was always something different, but it was really painful. So
how did you overcome that?
Well, once I realized that it was just energy, and that it was an exchange of energy that I was having with other people, I realized that I was able to protect myself from that exchange.
How did you do that?
Well, there was some classes, different energy. Everybody has their own different method of healing and, helping themselves. And one of them was just learning to bring in energy and just focus on keeping my stuff separate from other people's stuff, because my stuff is just as bad as everyone else's, and I don't want anyone else to have my stuff. So one of them was just you bring the energy down through your body from the source to the earth, connect, and put kind of like a barrier up.
Like a bubble in a way.
Yeah, like a bubble around your aura. And so when I learned these things, I found that I was, able to keep our stuff separate, but I was still able to connect with that person through different means, clearer means, where we were able to tell, this is my stuff and that is your stuff, and how is your stuff affecting you, and how is my stuff affecting me. That was the first place I learned for healing. Not for other people, but because I needed to learn to heal myself from all of the things in my own life.
And you did that. You were working through that.
Still working
yes. through it. I know. It doesn't end, does it?
No, it doesn't. No. So once I had many years of healing my own self from the problems that, I grew up with, everybody has stuff from their past, and, it is a choice, and my choice was to let it go and to look at it, to feel it, to understand it, and know that it happened for a reason. And I think most of all, it's so I can have the ability to relate with other people, so that I can share my gifts with them.
Yeah. So how did you get into, what is it that you did with me? Working with the chakras.
It's energy therapy.
Them. Is that what it's called?
Well, I've taken Reiki, and that's
and you're a
Reiki Master. Teacher. Yes.
Teacher.
So Reiki is very good that you can direct energy through you. It's not my own energy that I'm giving you, but I'm allowing myself to be a conduit for the greater energy to come through me so I can direct it. Like if I want to come and help you heal something on your knee, I could direct energy there and balance the energy there. But I like to take it to a different level. And why does your knee hurt you? And why do you have the issue with your knee? And how can we solve that? How do we remove that block from your energy field?
Which means?
It can be different things, because nothing is set in stone. There's an exception to everything.
Right.
In general, your knee would relate to your kidney, and kidneys are in your root chakra, and they're related to fear. And a lot of times, something like that is, life is hard, it's painful, it's very hard to be in this place, especially when people are very sensitive. They find it more difficult. So they have the lack of energy flowing all the way down through their feet. They don't want to make the connection to the earth, which is nurturing. We have innate fear of this place. You know, you first come into this world and it's very scary and cold and, you know, so from, you know, right on it's difficult, but a need would be fear. Not always would it be fear, depending on the person and how they relate it. But when I go into your energy field, I can see how you personally relate it. I can feel how it is that you feel about it without taking it onto myself like I used to. Oops. So instead of taking it on and feeling like it's my pain, I can feel how it is your pain and how you relate it, and then how we can work through it to remove it, so that instead of making your knee feel better right now, I can help to make your knee not have a problem by removing the block that's causing the knee. So
now, all of this, that when you actually worked on me on the second time, the things that you told me weren't things that you would have even known about me, you know. And I go, whoa, that's pretty good. And I felt that in the very first time that I met you, because you told me things that you wouldn't have known about me. So I knew that there was a lot there. You could also work over the phone, which is what you did in the very first time I met you over the phone. And the second time, too, it all made sense, and it all felt good, and I really did feel a lot better afterwards. So for me, I think people need to know what you're doing. They need to know how effective it is, and people that walk around with all this pain all the time, you could help heal them if they choose to let it go, right?
I cannot heal anyone who is not wanting to work on healing themselves. Because this place is a place of free will, we've all made the choice of taking on stuff. And you have to be able to be willing to let go of stuff for healing to happen. Now, I cannot come here and say, I'm going to put my power on you and I can heal you. Now, not that that can't happen. Not there haven't been people that have been able to do that. But with the people that I've met personally that have been healed by other people, depending on why they've had the issue will come back. And so they'll need another healing. Instead of going to the source of, you know, the reason why they may have a cancer or something. I've seen people healed miraculously of cancer, but they get cancer again because the reason why they got cancer in the first place is still there. They haven't healed that within their soul. So it's going to create a physical manifestation of their soul being injured or hurt or sick. So we like to go to the soul level and heal those wounds and remove those blocks so that they're not manifesting physically anymore.
What does resentment do to a person?
Well, resentment is kind of like an acid into the body. And there's so many ways that you can feel resentment and hold resentment in your body. Some people hold it in their joints because their soft tissues are weaker in their joints. And so it would create kind of an acidic reaction. And so they have pain in their joints. They could have an arthritis. Some people have resentment, they hold it in their organs, and it can cause cancer. And because you're supposed to have energy coming into your body and out of your body, it's supposed to go through you. Everything is supposed to wash through you instead of being held in you. Well, we like to hold things and think about things and remember things and, you know, bring up things all the time. And it's very difficult. You know, it's human nature. One of the many things that separates us from animals is the ability to recreate, you know, the past, you know, things that have happened to us. We recreate them in our minds, in our feelings. And resentment can, because you're holding on to something, it kind of festers energetically, but it also festers physically. And like a cancer is dead cells that don't quite die and flush out of your body. The same way, like when you have a feeling of resentment, you're holding that thing that happened to you, and you're holding it in you, and instead of letting it go, it will cause problems in your body, depending on the person. Again, it's always depending on...
Could it be the back, too?
The what?
The back?
The back.
Back problems?
Oh, back problems. Yeah, depending on how you hold on to it, how it related to you, and what started it in the first place. So it's very hard to just be, you know, this and that equals this, because it's not unilateral.
Depends on the individual then, huh?
Yeah, it does depend on the individual. So that's why you can't, for me, I can't just say, well, you know, if this is the problem, this is how you heal it, you know, and that's just how it is. Nothing's just like that. So...
Now, are you able to help them get rid of their resentment too?
Well, first they have to look at the resentment, why they're resentful, what it is that they're resentful about, what happened.
Are you able to tell them that?
Well, because I'm able to relate to that person and connect through my guides to their guides, I can feel how it is that they might have attained the resentment in the first place, so I can help them undo.
Wow.
I can see how it was done to help them undo it. But it is something that they, sometimes they have to work on, because if it's an old wound they've been carrying for a very long time, it's going to be very hard to release it every day from themselves, because we have the power of creation. We can recreate the thing that we're undoing. So at first it is, controlling your thoughts and, putting yourself in a different space and being aware of those things within ourselves, that cause that problem, and making the choice constantly of doing the right thing for ourselves and not holding on to those things. They happen for a reason. They happen for me to learn something, but they happened then, and it's not happening right now. And I have the choice to not bring it into the present. Because when you hold on to that stuff, you're bringing that unhappy past into the present.
Right. Now, how do you feel being given what you've been given? How does that make you feel?
Well, it makes me want to go out there and help everybody, that's for sure. I guess I'm not really sure how you
What
mean.
kind of feeling do you go through when you've helped someone and you've seen that this person's life has changed because you've been part of helping that person heal?
Well, it's a small confirmation that I've made the right choice in choosing not to be affected by the things that have happened in my past, and to know that those things happen for a reason, so I can relate. Maybe this one thing happened in my past so I can help just one person. And so knowing that makes me be able to look back at things that have happened and say, that there are good things out of everything.
Yeah.
So it's kind of confirmation. So.
Wow. Do you feel as a curse or a gift?
Oh, definitely a gift.
Okay.
I'm not sure what I would feel if I hadn't gone through those things. I'm not sure what kind of person I would be. I can't really say. I've learned so much stuff, I would never want to undo it or take it back. So I definitely think that it's a blessing.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Now going to Africa and experience everything that you've experienced, you feel that had to happen for you to be who you are right now?
Definitely. It was, looking back, it was almost a non-choice. I was probably more led by the Spirit doing that than ever in my life, because it was one of the most life-changing experiences I've had. Even though there's been a lot of small things in life that have, changed me for the better, this is by far the largest one, opening my eyes and making me be aware on multiple levels, giving me a different dimension of understanding.
Wow.
That allows me to tap into further dimensions by expanding that dimension in the first place. Makes me so much more aware of the dimensions outside of those ones. So I'm not too sure what I would have been if I hadn't done any of that. I love who I am and where I'm going. And
wow. And you met the love of your life some years back ago, and now you're going to be getting married real soon.
Yes.
How does that feel?
Ooh, very wonderful.
Now, do you feel that he will enhance what you're doing, or he will?
Well, he believes similarly as I do, and though he isn't going to be doing the type of work I'm doing, the only thing you could ever ask for is support in that which you want to do.
Right.
And he's the most supportive person that I have met, and I feel very blessed for being in his life and having him in mine.
Aww.
So it is very wonderful.
Would you consider him your soulmate?
Oh, yes.
Yeah?
Oh, yes. Yes. I never really had many boyfriends because when I was very young, I saw my parents again and my guides, helped me in figuring things out and planning my future for me. And one thing I requested of God when I was very young is that I would know when I saw him. I was uninterested in dating. I didn't see it as a point. I just wanted to find the person I was supposed to be with. And the best way is to just know when I saw them. And I was not very interested in people until I saw him, and I turned around and, oh my, he was so it. There was no second guessing that he was the one. So
that is wonderful.
yeah, it was a long journey, and we grew up together, kind of. I met him when I was 18, so it's been a long time. But oh yes, he's definitely, couldn't imagine him not in my life.
You got 2 minutes to tell me, what do you think your goals are in your future?
My goals, I really want to just help people know that they can help themselves, and that it's a choice that they can make, and it can start in the smallest way. And if I can help people have a better life, that is the one thing that I truly want.
Well, you are amazing, and it has been such a blessing to have met you. You are very compassionate and caring and loving, and I want to thank you so much. It's pretty much time to go right now. So again, thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh,
that
you.
wasn't that painful, was it?
No.
Okay, good for you. I'm Carolina Castorena. This is Visions of Inspiration. God bless all of you, and please pray for our troops, and God bless our troops. Bye-bye.
Make me a channel of your praise. Where there is hatred, let me bring your love. Where there is injury, your pardon, Lord. And where there's doubt, true faith in you. Make me a channel of your peace. Where there's despair in life, let me bring hope. Where there is darkness,